Hello friends. There's something electrifying about a Gemini man meeting a Leo woman. It's not just a casual glance across the room. It's the kind of encounter where time seems to slow, and yet the energy between them crackles like static in the air. Both ruled by elements that thrive on movement and presence, Gemini with his air, Leo with her fire. This pairing can feel like an unstoppable blaze, constantly fed by the winds of curiosity and charisma. But behind the initial spark lies a rich tapestry of emotions, challenges, and shared dreams. Let's explore what makes this cosmic connection so magnetic, and what happens when their differences demand more than just passion to keep the story alive. Chemistry. Initial attraction. The first thing to understand about a Gemini man is that he doesn't simply pass through the world observing people in a casual, detached way. He moves through it as though every encounter is a potential treasure hunt, every face a book waiting to be read. His eyes don't just glance, they scan with an instinctual precision, capturing flashes of movement, the curl of a smile, the rhythm of speech. For him, meeting someone is never just a chance moment. It's a deliberate act of discovery, even if he's not consciously aware of it. His curiosity is insatiable, but it's not the restless kind that's easily bored. It's the kind that keeps him leaning forward, wanting to know more, to dig deeper, to understand the unique combination of traits that make someone unforgettable. When a Leo woman appears in his orbit, it is as if a spotlight has just clicked on in the middle of an ordinary day. She doesn't have to do anything to command attention. Her very presence reshapes the energy in the room. There's a vibrancy in her movements, a natural command in the way she carries herself, that draws eyes without effort. She doesn't just walk into a space. She owns it, not through arrogance or dominance, but through an innate assurance that she belongs anywhere she chooses to be. Her posture, her expression, even the subtle tilt of her chin, all speak to a self-possession that is magnetic. She isn't performing, she's simply being, and that authenticity strikes the Gemini man with a force he can't easily shake. He notices the way her laughter seems to ripple outward like sunlight glancing off water, warm, bright, and impossible to ignore. He catches how her eyes hold a spark, not just of joy but of challenge, as if she's quietly asking the world, "What have you got for me?" And in that moment, Gemini feels the pull. He has met someone who doesn't merely exist in the moment but commands it, bends it, fills it with her own golden light. From her side, the first impression of a Gemini man is a rush of unexpected freshness, like opening a door to find the breeze carrying 1,000 scents from a place you've never been. His presence is quicksilver, shifting, adapting, reflecting, teasing. He doesn't just speak, he plays with words, spinning them into clever shapes, lacing them with humor and insight. His charm isn't heavy or rehearsed. It feels organic, springing naturally from the combination of his sharp intellect and a deep love for human connection. There's a glint in his eyes that tells her he's not just seeing her beauty, but also imagining the stories, dreams, and contradictions that live beneath it. Leo women adore attention, yes, but not the shallow, generic kind. They've heard enough bland compliments in their lives to know when someone's just reading from a tired script. What they crave is attention that feels earned, attention that proves the other person sees them as a full, complex individual. This is where the Gemini man immediately sets himself apart. He listens, not in the polite, half-engaged way many do, but with a total focus that makes her feel like the rest of the world has fallen away. He's curious about her ideas, her ambitions, her victories, and her failures. He asks questions that make her pause, not because they're intrusive, but because they're the kind no one else thinks to ask. Their early connection is a living, breathing rhythm. There's no awkward searching for topics, no polite small talk to fill the gaps. Instead, their conversation flows with the unpredictable grace of a river, sometimes light and playful, sometimes deep and reflective, but always moving. He finds himself wanting to explore every corner of her mind, every turn of her humor, every nuance in the way she expresses herself. She, in turn, tests him, deliberately pushing the conversation into territory where lesser minds might falter, just to see if he'll keep pace. He does, with an ease that makes her both intrigued and a little wary. She's met confident men before, but rarely ones whose confidence is paired with such fluid adaptability. Gemini thrives on variety, and the Leo woman, with her many facets, provides it in abundance. One moment she's bold and commanding, the next she's revealing a flash of vulnerability that catches him off guard. Just when he thinks he's figured her out, she surprises him, a sudden burst of laughter in a serious moment, or an unexpected insight delivered with the precision of someone who's been paying closer attention than he realized. For her, the Gemini man is like a spark that keeps leaping just out of reach, playful, elusive, but always drawing her closer. He doesn't just tell stories, he paints them in the air with his words, filling them with color, movement, and wit. He makes her feel alive in the way a sudden summer storm does, invigorated, a little breathless, and eager for more. There's a subtle undercurrent in their first encounters, an awareness that they are both performers in their own right. He thrives on keeping the audience, her, in this case, captivated. She thrives on being the show worth watching. This isn't a competition, it's a duet. He gives her space to shine without stepping back into the shadows himself, and she welcomes him onto her stage without fear that he'll outshine her. The magnetism between them isn't just about beauty or charm, it's about recognition. In some unspoken way, they see each other as equals, both worthy of the other's time and attention, both bringing something rare to the table. It's the instant awareness that this connection isn't going to fade into the background like so many others. For him, she's the living embodiment of a challenge he wants to meet again and again. For her, he's the breeze that fuels her flame rather than threatening to snuff it out. And so, in those first hours, sometimes even in the first minutes, a quiet agreement forms between them, not in words, but in the way they look at each other. This is something worth exploring. This is the beginning of a dance neither of them wants to end. The rest of the world can wait. For now, there's only the electricity in the air and the unshakable sense that they have just stumbled into the start of something extraordinary. Emotional dynamics. Here's where the air and fire metaphor becomes more than just poetic, it's a living, breathing truth between them. The Gemini man's emotions do not leap recklessly into the open, they take the scenic route through his mind first, winding their way past reason, curiosity, and logic before they ever emerge as words or actions. He processes feelings like an editor refining a manuscript, crossing out impulsive reactions and replacing them with thoughts that feel sharper, clearer, and more deliberate. It isn't that he lacks depth, far from it. His emotions run deep, but they're shaped by a constant mental narration, an internal commentary that analyzes before it reacts. The Leo woman, however, is the inverse. Her emotions don't ask permission from her mind, they simply appear, radiant, powerful, unfiltered. When she's joyful, the energy in her body practically shimmers, spilling over into the space around her. She fills a room with laughter, warmth, and an infectious vitality that people can feel even before they see her face. When she's hurt or angry, it's equally obvious. Her eyes sharpen, her tone shifts, and the air itself seems to take on a different temperature. For her, emotion is not something to be managed or edited, it's the most authentic expression of her truth in that moment. This difference can be electric when it works in harmony, because it brings balance to their connection. Her passion draws him out of his head, reminding him that life isn't always meant to be solved like a puzzle, it's meant to be felt. His measured approach, in turn, offers her a pause button she didn't know she needed, showing her that sometimes taking a step back can make her feelings more powerful, not less. Together, they can create a rhythm where his air fans her fire, giving it space to grow without burning out of control. Yet this same dynamic can also produce friction. A Leo woman often needs visible proof of love, not just the knowledge that it exists. Grand gestures, public affirmations, physical closeness, these are the ways she feels most cherished. She wants her partner to make her the undeniable center of his world, at least in the moments they share. A Gemini man, while fully capable of deep love, may not default to these kinds of declarations. He might choose words over roses, playful teasing over dramatic proclamations, or an impromptu adventure over an orchestrated romantic display. His love language is often about shared experiences and verbal connection, not necessarily the big, sweeping gestures that Leo craves. If she interprets his quieter expressions as indifference, hurt can bloom quickly. She might wonder why he isn't shouting his devotion from the rooftops, not realizing that in his mind, the rooftop is unnecessary because his affection is already woven into every word and every moment they spend together. For him, love doesn't always need fireworks. For her, fireworks are part of the thrill. This disconnect is one of their greatest potential stumbling blocks. When they manage to translate each other's emotional languages, however, something remarkable happens. The Leo woman can teach the Gemini man that vulnerability is not a weakness but a form of intimacy that strengthens connection. She shows him that wearing his heart on his sleeve, at least sometimes, invites a kind of closeness that intellectual rapport alone cannot provide. In return, he teaches her the liberating art of emotional flexibility, how to let a bad moment be just a moment, instead of allowing it to cast a shadow over an entire day. He reminds her that not every emotional impulse requires a reaction, and that sometimes, peace is found in choosing not to ignite every spark. But when these lessons are missed or ignored, the consequences are swift. She may start to feel unseen, uncelebrated, and underappreciated, withdrawing her warmth in the hope that he will notice the cold. He, feeling cornered by demands he doesn't fully understand, might retreat into his thoughts, seeking logic in a situation that is, at its core, emotional. The danger here is a loop of misunderstanding, her fire flaring higher to demand attention, his air thinning to avoid the heat, until the balance between them starts to falter. Ultimately, their emotional dynamics are a study in contrasts that can either enrich their bond or slowly erode it. If they meet each other halfway, if he learns to show love in ways she can feel in her bones, and if she learns to trust the constancy of his quieter devotion, they can create a relationship where intellect and passion don't compete, but complement. His cool, thoughtful winds will keep her flames burning bright without consuming them, and her fearless warmth will keep his skies from ever feeling empty or cold. Long-term compatibility. In the long run, the fate of a Gemini man and Leo woman together depends less on the flash of their initial spark and more on how they nurture that flame through the seasons of life. At first, it is easy for them to be swept away by the rush of newness, the constant surprises, the shared laughter, the magnetic pull of each other's energy. But as the relationship moves beyond those first intoxicating months, the real test begins. Can they adapt to each other's rhythms, honor their differences, and find a shared pace that neither stifles Gemini's restless curiosity nor diminishes Leo's need for devotion and constancy? The Gemini man is a creature of variety. His life is like a collage, made up of shifting interests, evolving ideas, and bursts of inspiration that sometimes change direction without warning. He thrives when he feels free to explore, whether it's diving into a new hobby, switching career paths, or spontaneously suggesting a road trip at midnight. Predictability is rarely his goal. For him, a steady routine can feel like a cage. This doesn't mean he's incapable of commitment, rather, commitment for him must include room to breathe, space to keep chasing the thrill of discovery. The Leo woman, while fully capable of embracing adventure, carries a different core need when it comes to love. She craves stability, not in the sense of dull repetition, but in the form of emotional security. She wants to know, with absolute certainty, that her partner is hers, not just in title but in action and intention. She's happy to join him in his adventures. She may even instigate a few herself, but she wants to know that home will always be there, that their bond is a solid foundation no matter how many detours they take. The challenge in their long-term compatibility lies in balancing these two needs. His ever-changing nature can sometimes make her feel that she's chasing a moving target. She might wonder, will he always want me, or will he one day wander off in search of something new? For her, love is a grand stage on which loyalty is the leading role. For him, love is an ongoing story with many chapters yet to be written, each one different from the last. If they can turn this difference into a shared strength, they will have a relationship that is both exciting and enduring. The Leo woman can anchor the Gemini man without tying him down, offering him a place where he can always return, knowing he's celebrated and loved for exactly who he is. In turn, the Gemini man can keep the Leo woman's world from becoming too fixed, infusing their shared life with spontaneity, novelty, and fresh perspective. Together, they have the potential to live as though life is one continuous celebration. They might travel to unexpected places, not just in the literal sense, but in the way they grow emotionally. They'll try new foods, new hobbies, new experiences. They'll gather stories to tell each other late at night, sometimes laughing until tears come, sometimes marveling at how far they've come since their first meeting. If both keep their admiration for each other alive, the years will only deepen their connection. But they must be vigilant, because small cracks can appear if their needs go unacknowledged. For Gemini, distraction is a constant temptation. His attention can drift, not always toward another person, but toward an idea, a project, or an interest that consumes him to the point where she feels left behind. For Leo, pride can sometimes harden into possessiveness. Her instinct to protect their relationship can morph into a demand for control, which to a Gemini feels like a tightening grip around his freedom. The remedy for both lies in mutual admiration. When the Leo woman feels genuinely valued for her strength, loyalty, and vibrant presence, she doesn't feel the need to guard her partner so fiercely. When the Gemini man feels appreciated for his adaptability, wit, and ability to keep life colorful, he is far less likely to stray from the emotional core of the relationship. In such an environment, loyalty isn't forced, it becomes second nature. Over decades, if they keep tending to that balance, they can become one of those rare couples who seem to never lose their spark. Friends will remark on how they still look at each other with the same fascination they had in the beginning. Family will see how their home is both a sanctuary and a playground, a place where deep love and lighthearted fun coexist. And they themselves will know that their secret lies in refusing to let their differences divide them. Instead, they've let those differences shape a love that is both grounded and forever in motion. Communication conflict resolution. If there is one arena where the Gemini man and the Leo woman naturally shine, it is in the realm of communication. Words are their shared playground, sometimes their most delightful meeting place, and other times, their sharpest weapon. A Gemini man treats conversation like an art form. He can talk for hours without repeating himself, weaving in new angles, clever wordplay, and unexpected perspectives as if his mind were a library that never closes. He thrives on mental exchange, on the lively back and forth that feels less like an interrogation and more like a jazz performance, improvised, rhythmic, unpredictable. A Leo woman, meanwhile, speaks with a different kind of power. Her words carry conviction, warmth, and a presence that demands attention without needing to shout. When she talks, people listen, not because they have to, but because her voice carries the unmistakable tone of someone who knows exactly what she believes. She is not afraid to plant her verbal flag in the ground and defend it with unwavering resolve. Together, they create a conversational dynamic that is almost theatrical in its range. Sparkling banter, passionate debates, thoughtful exchanges that can last deep into the night. When things are good between them, communication is one of the most intoxicating parts of their relationship. They feed each other intellectually, challenging each other's ideas and sharpening each other's wit. A conversation that starts about where to go for dinner might spiral into a discussion about politics, philosophy, or some obscure historical anecdote, all without losing its playful undertone. Even disagreements can be strangely enjoyable when they're both in good spirits. They'll spar like verbal fencers, each trying to outwit the other, yet fully aware that this is part of their shared dance. Sometimes, they'll find themselves laughing halfway through an argument, not because the disagreement disappeared, but because they both recognize the absurdity of getting so worked up over something trivial. However, when tensions rise for real, their differences in communication style can create friction that is far from playful. The Gemini man, when faced with emotional intensity, has a tendency to step back, sometimes to observe, sometimes to analyze, sometimes simply to protect himself from reacting impulsively. This emotional detachment can serve him well in professional settings, but in love, especially with a Leo woman, it can be misread. To her, his calm and measured tone in the heat of an argument can feel cold, distant, even dismissive. She thrives on passion, and in moments of conflict, she wants to see that same fire in his eyes, not just words, but a felt, visible investment in resolving the issue. For the Leo woman, conflict is not a problem to be analyzed from a safe distance. It is an emotional event that needs immediate acknowledgement and heartfelt engagement. When she feels wronged, she wants resolution quickly and clearly. To her, prolonged ambiguity or delayed emotional response can feel like a wound left untreated. Her natural tendency is to address problems head-on, with all the emotional intensity that's true to her nature. But from the Gemini man's point of view, her fiery delivery can feel overwhelming, like trying to stand still in the middle of a storm. He may see her fervor as overly dramatic or disproportionate to the situation, which can make him retreat further, unintentionally deepening her frustration. The key to their success lies in bridging this gap without trying to erase it. The Gemini man must learn that being emotionally present doesn't mean losing his composure. It means showing his partner that he is fully invested in the moment, that he's not just listening to her words but hearing the feelings beneath them. Sometimes this means putting his natural inclination to fix or reframe aside and simply meeting her where she is, acknowledging her emotions without immediately dissecting them. For the Leo woman, growth means understanding that giving space is not the same as being ignored. The Gemini man often processes best when he has a little breathing room to think before responding, and granting him that space can actually lead to more constructive and loving solutions. She doesn't have to mute her passion, he loves her fire, but she can learn to channel it in ways that invite conversation rather than trigger defensiveness. When they both embrace these adjustments, something transformative happens. Arguments become less about scoring points and more about finding common ground. Disagreements shift from being battlegrounds to becoming opportunities for deeper intimacy, where both leave the conversation not only with a resolution but with a greater understanding of the other's inner world. They begin to trust that even heated moments won't threaten the relationship's foundation, because both have committed to staying connected through the storm. The greatest danger is when their shared talent for words turns into a competition to win the argument. In those moments, the focus moves away from the relationship's health and toward individual pride. This is when conversations can spiral, with Gemini's cleverness becoming sharp and Leo's conviction turning unyielding. But when they catch themselves before this point, when they remember that they are partners, not opponents, their communication becomes one of their greatest long-term strengths. Ultimately, their gift for dialogue, paired with the willingness to adapt, ensures that even conflicts can deepen their bond. They can emerge from disagreements with the sense that they've not just solved a problem but have added another brick to the foundation of their relationship. And when that happens, both realize that their different communication styles are not obstacles, but complementary tools for building something lasting, an ongoing conversation that, in its best form, is as thrilling as it is enduring. Physical intimate connection. Passion between a Gemini man and a Leo woman is not something that flickers quietly in the background. It's a vivid, consuming, and ever-changing flame that demands attention. From the very beginning, there's an almost electric awareness of each other's presence. It's in the way their eyes linger just a fraction longer than necessary, in the way conversation seems to hum with an undercurrent of unspoken desire. When these two step into each other's physical orbit, it's as though the rest of the world fades out, leaving only the push and pull of their shared magnetism. A Gemini man approaches intimacy with the same curiosity and adaptability that he brings to every part of life. He's not content with routine. He thrives on variety, novelty, and the thrill of exploring new sensations. For him, physical connection is a living conversation without words, a language spoken through touch, movement, and the subtle interplay of reactions. He reads his partner's cues with an almost playful attentiveness, adjusting his approach in real time to keep the energy alive and dynamic. Creativity isn't just a flourish for him, it's essential. The Leo woman meets this energy with her own brand of sensual confidence. She knows her worth and understands the effect she has on a partner, not because she's manipulative, but because she carries herself with a natural awareness of her allure. In intimacy, she is both generous and commanding, eager to give pleasure, but also unapologetic in her desire to receive it. Her warmth draws her partner in, and her magnetic presence keeps him there, fully engaged and wanting more. For her, physical connection is never just about the mechanics, it's about the story being told in that moment. She wants to be adored, not just in fleeting compliments but in every gesture, every glance, every touch that communicates she is the singular focus of his desire. And for the Gemini man, this is an irresistible challenge. He delights in making her feel like the only person in the world, in creating moments that are so charged with intimacy that they feel suspended in time. Together, they create an intimate life that is rarely static. Just as they thrive on variety in conversation and shared experiences, they carry that same appetite into their private world. The setting may change, a candlelit room one night, a spontaneous escape into nature the next, but the underlying thread is always the same: a shared commitment to keeping the connection alive, fresh, and thrilling. They are not afraid to experiment, to explore new dimensions of pleasure, or to weave fantasy into reality when the mood strikes. This blend of playfulness and intensity is what makes their physical relationship so distinctive. There is room for laughter and lightness, moments where teasing and mischief become part of the seduction. And there is also room for deep, almost theatrical passion, the kind that leaves them both breathless, tangled in each other's arms, feeling like they've touched something beyond the physical. Over time, their intimacy becomes a reflection of the broader relationship, a mix of stability and surprise, of familiar rhythms and unexpected twists. The Gemini man ensures that no two encounters feel exactly the same, while the Leo woman ensures that each one feels significant, infused with the emotional gravity of her devotion. This balance keeps desire burning brightly even after the early rush of infatuation has mellowed into deeper love. Yet, as with all aspects of their connection, there are challenges. The Leo woman's need for consistent admiration can sometimes clash with the Gemini man's tendency to become distracted or restless if the novelty wears thin. She may interpret a shift in his attention as a cooling of desire, while he may see her constant need for affirmation as pressure. The key is awareness, recognizing these patterns before they create distance and making a conscious effort to reaffirm, reignite, and reconnect. When they remain attuned to each other, their physical and intimate connection doesn't just sustain their love, it elevates it. It becomes a sanctuary, a place where they can strip away the world's expectations and simply exist in the immediacy of shared pleasure and vulnerability. In these moments, all differences fade, leaving only the pulse of two people who, in body and spirit, understand exactly how to keep each other coming back for more. Shared values, life goals. While their approaches to life may be shaped by different instincts, a Gemini man and a Leo woman often find that, at the heart of things, they are aiming toward the same horizon. Gemini thrives on adaptability, on the freedom to pivot when the winds change and to see opportunity in unpredictability. For him, life is less about rigidly following a map and more about discovering hidden paths along the way. Leo, in contrast, places immense value on loyalty, recognition, and a sense of purpose that feels both grand and unwavering. For her, life is not just a journey, it's a stage on which she intends to play her role fully and memorably. Despite these differences in approach, their shared values bridge any gap between them. They are both lovers of growth, personal, professional, and relational. They both want to feel that they are evolving, that each year offers more wisdom, more joy, and more stories worth telling. This mutual hunger for expansion and excitement becomes a common thread that can bind them for years, even decades. Whether it's through travel, creative projects, or deep personal development, they both see life as something to be lived vividly, not cautiously. Both are drawn to experiences that feel larger than life. Social events with interesting people, creative ventures that demand bold thinking, adventures that push them beyond the familiar. These are the spaces where they both feel most alive. The Leo woman enjoys the spotlight, and the Gemini man often enjoys being the one who helps her shine even brighter. Conversely, she admires his ability to adapt to any setting, to blend charm and wit with genuine interest in the people and situations around him. Together, they thrive in dynamic environments, feeding off the energy of new ideas, new challenges, and new connections. Yet the way they plan for the future is where their differences are most pronounced. A Gemini man may not always carry a fixed long-term plan. His mind is a constant swirl of possibilities, and he prefers to keep his options open rather than locking himself into one path too early. To him, flexibility is not indecision, it's strategy. It's the belief that life's richest opportunities often appear unexpectedly, and being open means you're ready to take them when they come. A Leo woman, however, tends to dream in specifics. Her goals are often big, ambitious, and clearly defined. Once she sets her sights on something, she works steadily toward it, driven by a deep belief in her ability to make her vision a reality. For her, a plan is not a constraint, it's a declaration of intent, a way of telling herself and the world that she's serious about where she's going. If these two can align their visions, they can become a formidable force. The Gemini man contributes flexibility, creativity, and an openness to fresh possibilities that can keep their joint plans vibrant and responsive to change. The Leo woman brings determination, focus, and the kind of steady momentum that ensures their shared dreams don't get lost in the shuffle of daily distractions. He keeps her from becoming rigid, showing her that detours can lead to unexpected beauty. She keeps him from drifting too far off course, reminding him that some dreams require persistence as much as inspiration. Together, they can build a life that is both structured and spontaneous, serious in its ambitions yet joyful in its execution. They can be the couple that throws unforgettable parties yet also builds lasting legacies. Their relationship, when guided by this balance, becomes a place where both adventure and stability coexist. The Gemini man's ideas can take root because the Leo woman ensures they are nurtured. The Leo woman's ambitions can soar because the Gemini man brings new perspectives and unconventional strategies to the table. In their best moments, they amplify each other's strengths rather than competing for the spotlight. He delights in her victories as though they were his own, and she celebrates his ingenuity as a gift to them both. In this way, their shared values aren't just philosophical, they're lived, every day, in the choices they make together. They understand that success, for them, is not measured only by personal achievement but by the life they've created as a team, one that reflects both their individuality and their unity. When they keep their eyes on the same horizon, even if they take different paths to get there, they become a true power couple, one whose life goals aren't simply parallel but intertwined, moving forward in harmony toward a future that feels both exciting and secure. Final thoughts. The love story of a Gemini man and a Leo woman is not one that drifts quietly in the background. It's a narrative written in bold strokes, splashed with color, and set against a backdrop of constant motion. From their very first meeting, there is an undeniable sense of drama, not the destructive kind, but the kind that makes life feel vibrant and worth noticing. Every glance carries a spark, every conversation a rhythm, and every shared experience the potential to become a memory they'll replay for years. They are two souls who, in each other's presence, seem to find a deeper version of themselves, a Gemini man whose wit, curiosity, and adaptability suddenly have a worthy stage, and a Leo woman whose warmth, charisma, and courage now have a partner eager to match her stride. This is not a connection for those who fear intensity. Together, they inhabit a world where passion doesn't simmer, it bursts into life, demanding attention. Their union is fueled by contrasts as much as similarities. His air feeds her fire, giving it space to rise and dance. Her fire warms his air, giving it purpose and direction. This elemental balance is the invisible thread that keeps drawing them back to each other even after disagreements, misunderstandings, or periods of distance. It is the thing that makes them not just compatible but compelling. Yet, for all its magic, their relationship thrives not on passion alone but on the grace with which they navigate their differences. The Gemini man's restless curiosity can either be the wind in their shared sails or the breeze that threatens to scatter their plans. The Leo woman's proud devotion can either be the anchor that steadies them or the weight that makes him feel tethered too tightly. Success lies in their ability to read these moments honestly, to recognize when to lean in and when to step back, and to always remember that their differences are not flaws, they are the very ingredients that make their bond distinctive. When they strike the balance between freedom and commitment, the result is extraordinary. Freedom, for them, is not about separation but about trusting each other enough to explore individually while knowing they will return to a shared center. Commitment is not about restriction but about making an unspoken vow to be each other's constant, even in the face of change. They learn that love is not a static state but an evolving journey, one that requires both adaptability and devotion. Playfulness is the lifeblood of their connection. In quiet moments, they can dissolve into laughter over an inside joke no one else would understand. In grand moments, they can step into a room and light it up simply by being together. Yet beneath the humor and flirtation lies emotional depth, a willingness to be vulnerable, to admit fears and insecurities, to hold space for each other's humanity. This combination ensures that their relationship never feels one-dimensional. It is both lighthearted and profound, both a source of joy and a well of strength. Over time, they discover that their greatest victories as a couple come not from avoiding challenges but from facing them with unity. Life will inevitably test their connection, through career changes, shifting priorities, or unforeseen hardships, but each trial becomes another chapter in a story they are writing together. And because they value the journey as much as the destination, they rarely lose sight of what drew them together in the first place: the thrill of finding a partner who makes them feel more alive. For those lucky enough to witness them, the Gemini man and Leo woman are an unforgettable pair. They seem to carry an aura of adventure, as if they are always on the verge of something new and exciting. Friends may envy their chemistry, not realizing that it's built on more than just attraction. It's sustained by respect, mutual admiration, and the daily choice to see each other not just as lovers but as allies in every sense of the word. And so, the final truth of their love story is this: if they keep feeding each other's dreams while holding space for each other's individuality, they won't just be partners in romance, they will be partners in life. Their days will be filled with enough color, laughter, and shared triumphs to create a legacy worth telling, again and again, long after the first spark has become a steady, guiding flame. In their world, love is never simply felt, it is lived, loudly, beautifully, and without apology.